Conclusion. My beloved brothers and sisters of the Gnostic movement, we have concluded these course of esoteric teaching, and I was thinking of ending these meetings, in order to enter now into a recess. But I see that these meetings are a spiritual necessity for all of us, and that's why I believe it's best that we continue meeting on the 27th of each month. This is what I said on July 27, 1961, in the home of a distinguished man of science. At that time, I had finished the Perfect Matrimony, and had simultaneously concluded a course of esoteric sexual teaching that I had delivered to a group of Gnostic Rosicrucian students. The reason I thought of terminating the esoteric meetings in Mexico was disenchantment. In the beginning, the meeting room was full of people. Everyone enjoyed studying the mysteries of sex and the path of perfect matrimony. Afterward, as time passed, people were no longer interested in perfect matrimony or sexual magic. After 2 years of meetings, the esotericists attending these meetings could be counted on the fingers of one hand. Under those circumstances, I considered that it was useless to continue giving lectures. My intention was to end the lectures and meetings that night. Nevertheless, something remarkable occurred that night. I was filled with an immense grandiose and sublime love. My heart was filled with pain upon remembering the thought of leaving them alone. It was then that I resolved not to terminate the meetings, and to continue on with the few. When I returned to my home, I received a telepathic message from the temple of Chapultepec. I was commanded to leave the house, and to immediately go to the forest of Chapultepec. I obeyed the command and left the house, heading toward that marvelous forest, which the master Huiracocha speaks of in his novel, Rosy Cross. Chapultepec Castle was shining marvelously with its thousands of little lights. The avenues and central stairway were deserted, and the doors were hermetically locked. To enter the forest of Chapultepec during the midnight hours is difficult because guards and police are alert and vigilant. Therefore, it could happen that if some Gnostic Rosicrucian student were to venture into the forest, he could be mistaken for a thief. The zeal of the guards is great because there are immense treasures in Chapultepec Castle. Let's remember the dinnerware of Emperor Maximilian, all solid gold, and the colonial treasures contained in the palace halls. This is the most magnificent palace in Mexico. To narrate how I was able to enter the forest of Chapultepec at midnight is not important. The fact is that I entered, that is all. I walked along the avenue, turning at the hill of Chapultepec, continuing in the direction of the fountains constructed by President Madero. The path was deserted, and the night dark. I spent some time waiting for a prearranged signal. It seemed like a very long time to me, however. Finally someone arrived who spoke on my behalf, and everything was arranged. The superior adept of the temple commanded me to enter, and without further ado, I went in. The temple is situated inside the hill of Chapultepec. In other times, this temple was visible to the Aztecs, but afterward, with the arrival of the Spaniards, the temple entered the Jin state. The empire of light and faith of the Nahuas is within this temple. 2 guardians, holding unsheathed swords, guard the entrance, and nobody is able to enter without superior orders. That was a night of immense happiness for me. The temple was filled with a light of immaculate whiteness. It was light imbibed with life and spirit, light that casts no shadows. This light was coming from a chalice-like monstrance. Wrapped within such a light, the soul feels filled with a truly indescribable happiness. An angel penetrated the temple with me, and took a seat. The superior adept of the temple showed us some very beautiful paintings filled with life and movement. These paintings are very abundant in the White Lodges. Franz Hartmann commented on these types of paintings in his book entitled, With the Adepts, which he saw in a Rosicrucian temple in Bohemia. The figures in these kinds of pictures are full of life and movement. This is called the royal art of nature. The superior of the temple, noticing our admiration for the paintings, addressed the angel and then me, saying, "You are forbidden to touch these paintings." The angel faithfully obeyed the command. I frankly felt tempted to touch them, they were so beautiful. A severe reminder from the master, given in time, was sufficient. "I have already told you, sir, that you are forbidden to touch these paintings." I excused myself by answering, "Certainly, I do not intend to touch them." That night, the temple shone with ineffable glory. It is impossible to describe such beauty with human words. The roof, the walls, were all made of solid gold. Nonetheless, something filled me with amazement. I had heard so much about Theosophy, Rosicrucianism, Hermeticism, Yoga, etc., and now here, in the midst of a Gnostic Rosicrucian temple, was only a small group of ladies and gentlemen who, like me, had also been invited to the gathering in the temple. I remembered the lecture halls of some professors of occultism, always filled with thousands of people. I remembered the temples of the world, filled with thousands of human beings. I remembered lodges that called themselves Rosicrucian with their millions of affiliates, and now, here in the midst of an authentic temple of the White Lodge, the few who were present could be counted on the fingers of one hand. Then I understood everything. At first, many people came to our esoteric meetings. As time passed, the number who attended notably decreased, and now only a few thirsty for wisdom and love were coming to us. When I understood this, I spontaneously exclaimed, "The temples, lodges, and schools of the world are always filled with many people because Satan enticed them. However, only few are those who come into the temples of true divine wisdom." This is how I spoke, with a voice that amazed me, and when I spoke, I noticed the superior of the temple was nodding in approval. Then he said, "It is so, Satan enticed them." Immediately after having confirmed my words, the master commanded the angel to ascend to the choir of musicians and singers to sing. The angel obeyed, and after having ascended to the choir, he sang the history of the centuries in opera. The angel, from the doctrinal point of view, placed himself mentally in the time of the future fifth round of planetary evolution. In that future age, the physical-chemical Earth will be nothing more than a cadaver, a new moon. Then, all evolving life will develop within the ethereal plane, or ethereal region of our Earth. The 7 root races of flesh and bone will no longer exist, they will have become extinct. The angel sang with a voice so ineffable and sweet that it resembled Mozart's magic flute. My whole being went into ecstasy. To hear an angel sing is something you can never forget in your life. The angel, situated mentally in the future Earth of the fifth round, narrated in opera the history of terrestrial evolution. He mentioned all the prophets who have been sent to the Earth. With a melodious voice, he narrated the history of the 7 root races of the world, the apocalypse of the present 5th root race, the continents that existed in the past and their general destruction, the great cataclysms of the Earth, the great wars, the superhuman efforts that had been made by the great avatars to save humanity, the crucifixion of the martyr of Golgotha, etc. Subsequently, he lamented with pain the few who had been saved. Only a few had managed to be born as angels. The rest, the great majority of human beings, were swallowed up by the abyss. From the billions of souls that entered evolution and involution on the planet Earth, only a handful of creatures were fit for the angelic state. For many are called, but few are chosen. Matthew 22 verse 14. When the angel reached this part of his ineffable opera, I felt profoundly moved and amazed. Frankly, I had believed that the case of only a few being saved, and the great majority being lost, could only occur on Earth, and in the past Mahamantara of the Earth Moon, but that things would be different on the rest of the worlds. The angel disabused me of this error when he said, "And what happened on Earth will always be repeated on all the worlds of infinite space." When the angel finished his ineffable song, I understood why so many people had attended my meetings, and why only a few of the many who began remained with me. Now I am willing to continue with the few. I am no longer interested in having a room full of people. Indeed, many are they who begin, but few are those who last. Perfect matrimony is the path of the razor's edge. To affiliate oneself with a school, lodge, order, etc., is something very easy. To study yoga, Hermeticism, philosophy, astrology, is very beautiful and easy, but to be born as an angel is something terribly difficult. The angel has to be born from the sexual seed. Precisely therein lies the difficulty. The wheat seed germinates easily. Indeed, many seeds are lost, but the majority germinate, and become ears of grain with which the multitudes are nourished. To sow corn seeds is also something easy. Many seeds are lost, but the great majority are not. They germinate and produce corn. Angel seeds are the most difficult. Man carries this seed in his sexual glands, and very rarely does it germinate. We have concluded this book, emphatically affirming that only with perfect matrimony can we achieve the germination of this seed and give birth to the fruit. This fruit is the angel. Here is where the problem and the difficulty lie. It so happens that people think belonging to this or that faith, to such and such religion, or to one or another sect, they are already saved. Naturally, this is false. A seed never germinates, because of what a person believes or stops believing. An insect is never born, because of what a human being thinks or stops thinking. A man is never born from the parchment of theory. This question is sexual, and in this, the angel is no exception. Members of all religions, schools, sects, and beliefs say, "For many are called, but few are chosen." Matthew 22 verse 14. People from all over the world repeat it, and presume, as is normal, that they are the chosen ones. Nobody considers himself lost. They believe that with their belief, theory, study, etc., they are already saved. However, this is false and absurd because the problem of being born cannot be the result of beliefs, theories, or concepts. The reality is different. To be born is a totally sexual problem. Sexual magic is taught in the esoteric heart of the great religions. Unfortunately, people do not investigate it, they do not inquire. That is the problem. People do not like sexual magic because it means the sacrifice of oneself, of one's animal passions. Rare is the one who can be truly steadfast in sexual magic. Many begin with curiosity, but after a few days they can't take it anymore, and then give themselves over to fornication. Those are the weak, who later go about saying that sexual magic is harmful. Those are the degenerated seeds that do not germinate. Sex is the path that leads human beings to final liberation. If someone thinks a different path might exist for the self-realization, he is obviously totally mistaken. This is the law for all continents, worlds, and spaces. We will talk now a little about Selene. Certainly, today the moon is a cadaver. However, before it died, it was a world that had very beautiful seas, lush vegetation, all kinds of people, etc. Unfortunately, the lunar multitudes became demons. Only a small handful of human creatures achieved practical adepthood. On our planet Earth, the outcome will be the same. Only a small group of people will be born as angels. We can affirm without fear of error that the humanity of Earth will be swallowed up by the abyss. Theosophists are mistaken when they affirm that all human beings will reach liberation. This concept is not accepted by the White Lodge because it is false. Those who think they will be saved by believing in something or other are mistaken. This concept is false. Those who believe they can be saved with the bellows system of pranayama and philosophy are mistaken. Nobody can save himself without being born, and nobody can be born without sex. I have concluded this book with immense sorrow for humanity. It is lamentable that the abyss swallows up so many people. I write with pain because I know humanity does not accept perfect matrimony. I conclude this book perfectly convinced that those who truly know how to take advantage of it are very few. People do not like these things. Everyone thinks they can save themselves with their particular belief, religion, order, or school, and there is no way of convincing them they are mistaken. In the future fifth round, all those who do not accept perfect matrimony will become demons, inhabitants of the abyss. In the future fifth round, those who accept perfect matrimony will be angels. We are at the end of the Aryan race. We are beginning to live the apocalypse of St. John. Millions of human beings are entering the abyss. These poor people enter the abyss convinced they are doing very well. They believe they are already the chosen ones, and that their beliefs have saved them. That is what they believe, and there is no way to prove the contrary to them. This is how they submerge themselves into the abyss where, after many millions of years, they disintegrate slowly until becoming cosmic dust. That is the second death. We conclude this book by stating, only the one who becomes an angel is saved. The angel must be born within us. To be born is an absolutely sexual problem, and the only path is perfect matrimony.